Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Trump pleaded not guilty to 13 felony charges over efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss in Georgia. Trump also requested his case be tried separately from his 18 co-defendants. Trump's legal team argued an October 23rd start date for the trial does not leave enough time to prepare, while some of his co-defendants have asked for a speedy trial. Meanwhile, the release date for the Fulton County grand jury's final report is set for September 8th. The judge said Trump's Georgia trial will be televised and live streamed. In related news, Georgia's Republican Governor Brian Kemp dismissed calls to launch impeachment proceedings against Fulton County DA Fani Willis, who brought the racketeering case. One of Trump's Georgia co-defendants, lawyer John Eastman, appeared on Fox News this week, where he admitted to pressuring then Vice President Mike Pence to delay certification of the election.
I explicitly told Vice President Pence in the Oval Office on January 4th that even though it was an open issue, under the circumstances we had, I thought it was the weaker argument, and it would be foolish to exercise such power even if he had it. What I recommended, and I've said this repeatedly, is that he accede to requests from more than 100 state legislators in the swing states to give them a week to try and sort out the impact of what everybody acknowledged was illegality in the conduct of the election.
A federal judge sentenced two former leaders of the Proud Boys, Joseph Biggs and Zachary Rehl, to 17 and 15 years in prison, respectively, for the seditious conspiracy to keep Donald Trump in power by attacking the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. The sentences are some of the stiffest yet over January 6, though prosecutors had sought 30-plus years for the two men. A lawyer for Biggs spoke after his sentence.
If your president tells you your country's been stolen, the country that people fought and died for, people are trying to take your vote from you, how are you supposed to react to that? And these people reacted violently and to their detriment. I think these cases are grotesquely overcharged.
Both men broke down in court. Two other Proud Boys, Dominic Pizzola and Ethan Ordine, are receiving their sentences today. Former leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, will be sentenced Tuesday. We'll have more after headlines. The African Union has suspended Gabon's membership following Wednesday's military coup and ouster of the longtime president, Ali Bongo. The UN has also condemned the coup, but many Gabonese have voiced support for the military takeover.
It's important to remember that we've been waiting for this release for several years. The Bongo regime has been sharing out Gabon's wealth for several years. They've promoted corruption and unemployment, so we're tired of it. We've been waiting for this with real satisfaction. It's a real pleasure. Today, I'm proud to say that Gabon's independence took place on August 30th, 2023.
Meanwhile, main opposition leader Albert Ando Osa, who lost his challenge to Ali Bongo in Saturday's contested election in Gabon, is calling for the junta to complete the ballot count and hand over power to civilians. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, AFP reports at least 48 people were killed by Congolese soldiers Wednesday as armed forces cracked down on a protest against United Nations peacekeepers in the city of Goma. Dozens of others were wounded, while over 150 people were reportedly arrested. The demonstration was led by a Christian sect. UN peacekeeping efforts in the DRC have been widely criticized, as many communities say their presence has done little to prevent conflict. Violence has soared in recent years, particularly in the eastern region of the DRC. Chile's government is launching a nationwide search for over 1,000 people who were forcibly disappeared during the U.S.-backed military dictatorship of General Augusto Pinochet. Chilean President Gabriel Boric made the announcement Wednesday ahead of the 50th anniversary of the U.S.-backed coup that overthrew the democratically elected President Salvador Allende, who died in the palace September 11, 1973. Survivors of the Pinochet regime have long demanded justice.
We had the hope that they were alive, but as years went by, we realized they weren't. At least they should have told us what happened to them, what was done to them. That is the worst part of these 50 years.
In Colombia, a truth and justice tribunal found the U.S.-trained general, Mario Montoya, responsible for 130 extrajudicial killings and disappearances between 2002 and 2003. Montoya is accused of deliberately mislabeling civilians killed by his soldiers as enemy combatants as part of the false positives scandal. Over 6,000 civilians, including children and disabled people, were killed by Colombian soldiers from 2002 to 2008, who then classified their victims as fighters from the FARC, that's the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. The Biden administration Thursday sent another deportation flight to Haiti with at least 60 asylum seekers. This came a day after the State Department urged U.S. citizens to immediately leave Haiti due to worsening violence. Immigrant rights advocates condemned the deportations. This is Guerline Joseph, Executive Director of the Haitian Bridge Alliance.
To really highlight the inhumane nature of those deportations, I want to share one of the people who got deported this morning is a woman who has been in detention since February. She has been dealing with chronic pain, extreme medical issues. She fainted 3 times while in detention in Florida. Upon return from the hospital, she was put on a plane and deported this morning. She is stuck with nowhere to go, and her family in the United States have been calling and asking to find some help for her.
Tens of thousands of Haitian asylum seekers, including children, have been deported since President Biden took office, despite international condemnation and calls for humanitarian relief, as Haiti faces a spiraling political and economic crisis with gangs gaining control of large portions of the country. The U.S. State Department has approved an $80 million military aid package to Taiwan under a program typically used for sovereign states. Beijing has condemned the move, seen as another challenge to its sovereignty over Taiwan. Beleaguered Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas acknowledged he took 4 flights on the private jet of conservative megadonor Harlan Crow last year as part of his annual financial filing. He also amended previous filings with allegedly inadvertently omitted information. This comes after ProPublica and others revealed Thomas had failed to disclose at least 38 luxury trips from Crow and 3 other right-wing billionaires for decades. Justice Thomas and his family also sold 3 properties to Crow. Rhode Island Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse said, quote, "This late-come effort at cleanup on aisle 3 won't deter us from fully investigating the massive secret right-wing billionaire influence in which this court is mired." Texas's ban on gender-affirming care for trans youth goes into effect today after the state Supreme Court overruled an earlier decision by a Texas judge who found the ban unconstitutional. The law will not only block transgender youth from accessing new care, it will force those already on transition medications to wean off them. Rights groups are appealing. Separately, a federal judge temporarily blocked a Texas law that would restrict drag performances while the court reviews the case. Meanwhile, Canada's issued a travel advisory for its LGBTQ+ citizens visiting the United States due to the recent flurry of discriminatory laws passed by Republicans. And in San Francisco, tech workers and other protesters gathered outside the Google Cloud Next conference this week to call out Google's contract with Israel, which uses the cloud service for its public sector and military, including to surveil Palestinians. This is activist Ariel Corin.
We are here representing the No Tech for Apartheid campaign. We're a coalition of Google workers and community members who have coalesced to send a strong message to the company that Google workers are refusing to allow their labor to be used to power apartheid violence against Palestinian people.
Project Nimbus is a $1.2 billion artificial intelligence and computer technology agreement between Google, Amazon Web Services, and the Israeli government, which went into effect in July 2021. A statement from the movement No Tech for Apartheid said, quote, "Technology should be used to bring people together, not enable apartheid, ethnic cleansing, and settler colonialism," unquote. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.